Hi, I'm Dr. Robin Dickinson. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a family physician and creator of Dr. Robin's School, a health and human body program that teaches kids to understand their bodies and want to take care of themselves. We're going to be talking about first aid kits. Now, nothing I say here is medical advice. Even though I am a physician, I'm not your physician. If you have specific questions about your situation, you should be talking to your own doctor. This is just good common sense advice that honestly everyone should know, but isn't out there because it's way nicer for the people wanting to make money if they can charge you $30 for a very expensive box of Band-Aids. Instead, we're going to look at putting together your own first aid kit from things that you probably either have in your own house right now or maybe ought to have in your own house right now. That way you're ready for any situation that you might find yourself in. So during this video, I want to first go through kind of the theory behind first aid kits, because a lot of people just buy one without thinking about why they need it and when they'll use it. Then I'd like to talk about some specific situations where you might need some first aid kits. We'll go through some ideas for what you might have in those first aid kits, how to store them, when you might use them. I'm going to take you on a little tour of my own bathroom, show you a few real first aid kits that my family uses. So these are not the pretty Instagram-worthy, YouTube, Facebook, pretty versions that people always show right after they make them. This is the real life, actually used version, so you know it has something to do with reality, so that when something does happen, because it will, we're humans and we're kind of squishy and vulnerable, you'll be ready for it. All right, so let's get started. So the first step in making a first aid kit is figuring out why you're making the first aid kit. Where are you going to be when you're using it? What is the context? Is there going to be running water there? Are you going to be able to call for help easily? Would it be a situation where people have to walk or hike or somehow get out of the situation on their own or get rescued by a helicopter or something? Or is it a really civilized area where you can just sit there and wait for help to come? All of those are going to change what it is you have with you. You also need to ask yourself, how much space do you actually have to carry your first aid kit? If it's just for a backpack or a purse, you're not going to bring very much. But if you're going camping and you have some backpacks, especially car camping where you have a bunch of stuff, it's worth it to bring like a real first aid kit so you're prepared. If you're backpacking, it's going to be a very lightweight and carefully chosen set of items that you'll need for that specific situation. If it's in the back of your car, it's going to get really hot. And so you have to think about, okay, what is it that's going to survive the heat of the car? Each of those situations is different. Also, you have to think about who's using it. Is it going to be you? Is it going to be one of your kids? Is this something that's going to be available to other people who may not know what's in it or how to use it? Each of those is going to change what it is that you're using. All right, here we are in my bathroom, not usually where I film videos. It is our house was built in 1920, and so it's kind of an odd shape and size. So we bought these cabinets years ago because they're the only thing that fit in this space. So I think they're like 4 inches deep. And I'm going to show you reality here. First of all, kind of a stepping back look. There's cupboards up above with mostly backstock, but a few other things. We have those on the right and left. We have like personal stuff. We have our toothbrushes and so forth. Over there we have thermometers and pulse ox, cotton balls. Down below we have towels and washcloths and things like that. So looking then at these shelves, you can see everything's kind of labeled, not always accurate. Bugs and sun protection, treatment, lotions, does not include any lotions, but it does have Miralax. Derm protection, antifungals, which does have those, has things like numbing spray here and Vaseline. But we also have like nail polish remover and Tide to Go. And then here we have nail care and Band-Aids. This thing here is used all the time. I don't know why it's on the bottom, but that's nail repair bandage things for when you break a nail. And I don't know why Kleenex is in there. This is kind of a cough and cold. You can see a disaster. That's how it always is. And then up above it, some cough and cold wandered up there, pain relief, fever reducer. But we also have like azo for bladder stuff. We have some tubes of stuff that came down from above. There's our tubes of stuff, and then there's GI and eyes. Now, something I've done in here is anytime there's something that would go well with something, like for example, that there is electrolyte powder. So I know I'd look for it in GI if my kids were sick, because that's a GI problem. Here, those are eye cups, but right behind them in that pill bottle is an eyeglass repair kit, because I know I'd look for it there. And like up here, that box there is a prescription medicine that keeps people from throwing up that we use for migraines around here. But again, it's a GI thing, so I know I'd look for it there. Up above there, I have the MSK is just like wraps and bandages and ace wraps and ankle braces, and basically every brace we've ever worn. And we just hang on to them for just in case. That is my bathroom. And yeah, that's reality. Bit of a mess. But in general, I have whatever I need if someone's hurt or sick or needs something. And while it doesn't look pretty, it's very, very functional. And that's the goal of any first aid kit or home apothecary setup, is to make sure that you have what you need, not necessarily that it's pretty. Quick note on over-the-counter medications. There's a lot of medications that come in combination. They might be called something like cough, cold, and flu, or nighttime sinus relief, or something like that. They all have a combination of basically the same medicines in them. And while it's fine to buy those, that's why they're FDA approved in the United States, or whatever they're approved of in your country. I personally, though, keep each ingredient separately and give each ingredient that is actually needed. Oftentimes in those combination medications, they might have something you don't actually need, or you end up purchasing a lot of different ones trying to find the right combination for your particular mix of symptoms when you could just take them separately. So if there's a favorite one you use all the time, go for it. But if not, it can be very handy having them separately. Another problem with the combinations is that people can sometimes accidentally overdose, especially with children. There are some medications like Tylenol, or acetaminophen or paracetamol, depending where you are, that can kill your liver. And people can accidentally take too much because there will be some in the combination medication. They might take some just on its own because they're not feeling good, and pretty soon they get too much. It can also happen with certain cough medicines. Especially in young children, certain cough medicines can make people not breathe as well. And so that's another thing you have to be very careful about, is not giving young children too much of any of the medications that might affect their breathing. What we do in my family is if anyone is sick and taking medication, is we always text someone else with when the dose was. Now, if it's kids, then the text goes to all the adults in the house so that we all know when each kid had a dose. Even for adults, though, I'll text either my husband or Hannah, my friend and assistant, so that they know exactly when I took a dose and I know exactly when, so that when I need another one, I can make sure I'm not overdosing myself. So that makes sure that we're taking the right amount of everything. I also make sure on all the packaging to write the correct dosing for the kids, because my daughter is still young enough that her dosing is based on her size, and she's not able to take the same medicines the rest of us can. My son's 14, he's basically the same size as me, so he can take the regular doses. But for my daughter, she has to have a particular dose, and she often has to have a different form. And so I write her name and her dose on the outside of the box, so that everyone who uses that medicine with her gives her the right dose. I want to make sure that we definitely don't ever give her either too much of something, which can be dangerous, or too little, because then it doesn't work. And so why would we bother giving it to her if we're not giving her a therapeutic dose? Here is my son's dance first aid kit. This one's, I think, an old sewing or knitting notions kit of mine that I took apart and used the bag for him because I didn't need it. But really, cosmetics bag, all sorts of things work. So I use sandwich bags for organizing his stuff. There you can see that. We'll go through what all this is in a minute. All right. So I think we can kind of see everything now. So I have here a bag of Band-Aids, blister Band-Aids, moleskin, everything he might need for those kinds of things. So blister Band-Aids, he has some safety pins in there, just because it's a bag and a good place to put them. But safety pins are good for holding things on or in case his clothes tear. It just seemed like a good place to put them. I do have the wipes for if he spills anything on himself. These are the nail bandages. They go right, you can't really see, but they're almost like cloth, and they go right onto the nail, and then you trim the edge. He has a pair of scissors in a different part of his bag where he can just trim it, or all the girls have scissors for their point shoes. So he can always borrow a pair. This is KT tape for any injuries that he might have. He can tape them. An ace wrap, you can see this one's unused. It has Velcro, so it doesn't have those little pointy clippy things that he can use. Muscle rub. This is his personal pill minder that I mentioned. So these things are awesome. They come open like that, and then there's labels for each thing. And for his, I label it with when he should take it, how much to take, why he should take it, so he knows what it is. He already does know, but just for a reminder. We have Afrin in case he gets a nosebleed or his nose is getting runny at all, or his allergies. This is for his allergies because he only thinks about using his nasal steroid when he's at dance. So there you go. He has braces. So we have his mouth rinse, which you can see he's probably never used, even though he's supposed to. Somewhere in here, there we go. Here's our little braces care kit. We love the Orthodots. This is not an ad for them at all, but if you have a kid with braces, they changed our life. Because if you're like us, you were given wax, and it's awful because you have to have it completely dry or it doesn't stick. Orthodots, just a little side note, are fabulous because they will stick. They specifically stick better on wetness. So it's really easy for my kids to put on themselves if they're out and about and their braces are hurting them. And then this is just a little chew thing that if he bites down on it can make his teeth feel better. He doesn't have asthma per se, but if there's smoke from wildfires or something, he'll often need an inhaler. And what else do we have? Googly eye. And clippies from his last ace wrap that he already used, random stuff. All right, so there is a real first aid kit that is obviously used regularly. And mostly I just restock, throw away wrappers, things like that every couple months. And hopefully over time he'll take that job on himself. And he's my kiddo who shares a lot. So we do go through more than we would otherwise. But I figure it's a good way of making friends and helping people out. And I want to encourage him to help people. Think about what you would need in your life for your family. Different people need different things. Consider also putting together a pet first aid kit. I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not going to make any suggestions on that one, but I will tell you that I have a couple animals on prescription medication, and so we have to have some of that ready to go. We also have an emergency halter and leash by the front door for my dog. So occasionally my kids don't put things away where they're supposed to, and we have to hunt everywhere for his leash and his harness. So what I did is I bought the same harness he always wears in bright red and a bright red leash, and that always stays right by the front door no matter what. That is in case of emergency. We can always put that harness on him, and we don't have to worry about having to hunt for one. Just having this first aid kit is going to make you so much more prepared than the average person and feel just a lot better knowing that you're ready for whatever situation may come along for yourself, for your family, and for your community.